The night was quiet, the kind of silence that usually brought peace to the Miller household. But instead of resting in his usual corner, Rex, a retired 9 who had served years on the force, was pacing furiously around 10-year-old Ethan's bed. His nails scratched the wooden floor, his heavy breath filled the room, and then he did something no one could explain. He jumped on the bed, growled, and started biting into the wooden frame as if trying to tear something apart. At first, Ethan's parents thought the old dog had finally lost his mind. But within hours, doctors uncovered a shocking truth that would change their lives forever. Ethan Miller was a quiet boy, gentle and full of curiosity. But unlike most kids, he had been battling frequent headaches, fatigue, and a weakness his parents brushed off as a growing pains. Rex, the family's retired 9, had joined their home 2 years earlier. Once a fearless police dog who had tracked down criminals, Rex was now gray-muzzled and stiff from age. But around Ethan, he became something more than a retired hero. He was a guardian, never leaving the boy's side. Ethan would often whisper, "You're my best friend, Rex. Don't ever leave me." And Rex, as if he understood every word, would rest his head gently on the boy's chest. One stormy evening, Ethan complained of dizziness before bed. His parents kissed him goodnight and assumed he just needed rest. But Rex sensed something different. As the house fell silent, Rex became restless. He sniffed furiously at the mattress, whimpered, and barked at Ethan's bed. When no one came, he did something shocking. He began clawing and biting the wooden frame, growling at it as though it were alive. When Ethan's mother rushed in, she was horrified. "Rex, stop it! What's wrong with you?" She shouted, pulling the dog away, but Rex refused to leave. He planted himself beside Ethan, whining, nudging the boy's chest with his nose, and then laying across him protectively. By morning, Ethan was pale and barely responsive. His breathing was shallow. Rex would not budge from the bed, his eyes locked on the boy. Alarmed, the Millers rushed Ethan to the hospital. At first, doctors thought it was just the flu or exhaustion, but Rex's behavior kept replaying in the parents' minds. Why had the dog attacked the bed frame? Why had he stayed so close? What had he stayed so close? They begged the doctors to run deeper tests. And after hours of scans and examinations, the truth surfaced. Ethan had a growing brain tumor, pressing dangerously close to a critical artery. The doctor explained softly, if this had gone unnoticed for even a few more weeks, the outcome could have been tragic. The Millers froze in shock. Their son's subtle symptoms had been warning signs they never recognized. But somehow Rex had sensed it, the pressure, the danger, the invisible enemy inside Ethan's head. The decision was immediate. Ethan needed emergency surgery. The hours dragged like days. Rex, though not allowed inside the operating room, sat by the hospital doors, refusing food and water. Nurses tried coaxing him away, but he wouldn't move. Ethan's father whispered, "He knows. He's waiting for his boy." Inside, the surgery was complicated. The tumor had spread close to vital nerves, making it risky. The challenge wasn't just removing it. It was doing so without harming Ethan's ability to walk, speak, or see. For 8 grueling hours, the Millers prayed. And outside, Rex kept his silent vigil. Finally, the doors opened. The surgeon smiled wearily. "The tumor is out. Ethan is stable." Stable. He's going to live. Tears poured down the parents' faces. When Ethan was wheeled out, pale but alive, Rex finally stood, his ears perked, tail wagging weakly, and a low, relieved whine escaping his throat. Days later, when Ethan opened his eyes for the first time, the first thing he saw wasn't his parents or the doctors. It was Rex, his old 9, sitting loyally by his bed, eyes glistening as if he understood. Ethan recovered slowly, but he never forgot what had happened. Neither did his family. They knew that without Rex's strange, desperate actions that night, biting the bed, refusing to move, Ethan might not have survived. The story spread through the town. People were amazed at how a retired 9, long past his service days, had saved a child's life not with training or commands, but with something far greater: loyalty, instinct, and love. Ethan, holding Rex's paw, once said in front of his classmates, "Rex isn't just my dog, he's my hero. He didn't save me because he had to. He saved me because he loves me." And from that day forward, no one in town looked at Rex as just a retired police dog. He was the dog who listened to what no doctor could hear, who saw what no parent could see, and who refused to give up until his boy was safe. A worried family in a hospital corridor, a young boy on a gurney being wheeled toward the operating room, a retired German shepherd, 9, straining at the leash. desperate to follow. Close-up of the boy's pale face as he's taken into surgery, the loyal nine staring at him with worried eyes. Doctors in blue scrubs and masks preparing surgical instruments under bright sterile lights, tension in the air. The retired nine lying in front of closed operating room doors, head on his paws, eyes fixed on the entrance. Parents sitting in a waiting area. The mother praying with folded hands, the father with his head in his palms, the dog at their feet refusing to move. Symbolic shot, a hospital wall clock showing hours passing while the dog remains in the exact same position. Surgeons stepping out of the operating room, lowering their masks, one doctor smiling faintly while the parents rush forward in relief. The boy being wheeled out on a stretcher, pale but alive, his small hand brushing against the fur of the waiting nine. Close-up of the dog's tail wagging gently, eyes wet, showing both exhaustion and joy. The boy lying in a hospital bed with Fofay drips and monitors beside him, his hand resting on the dog's head as the nine keeps watch. Parents standing by the bed, smiling through tears while the loyal dog refuses to leave the boy's side. Emotional shot. The boy whispering to the dog, "You saved me," while the nine rests his muzzle on the boy's chest. A school auditorium scene. The boy standing at the front, holding his nine's paw, telling classmates his story with kids clapping in the background. Cinematic portrait of the old nine, with a medal or ribbon around his neck. Sitting proudly, gray muzzle glowing in soft light. Closing scene. The boy and the dog walking together down a sunlit path, holding onto each other, symbolizing hope, survival, and unbreakable friendship. Weeks turned into months. Ethan grew stronger every day. His speech returned, his laughter filled the house again, and his energy slowly came back. Through every step of therapy and recovery, Rex was there, lying beside his wheelchair, padding quietly during his first shaky steps, and resting his head in Ethan's lap when the boy grew tired. Doctors called Ethan's recovery remarkable. But his parents knew the truth. If not for Rex, they might never have caught the tumor in time. Word spread quickly through the town. Local newspapers ran headlines. A retired nine saves boy's life, and neighbors dropped by with treats, cards, and even medals for Rex. Police officers who had once served alongside the old nine came to visit, saluting him like a fellow officer. At a town gathering, the mayor stepped onto the stage and said, "Sid, heroes come in many forms. Today we honor one who walks on four legs." Rex is proof that loyalty and love are the strongest forces on earth. The crowd erupted in applause as Ethan placed a ribbon gently around Rex's neck. The old dog wagged his tail, ears perked, as if he knew exactly what it meant. Life settled back into routine, but one thing never changed: Rex's devotion. Even in his old age, he followed Ethan everywhere. He slept outside his door, watched him at play, and sat by his side while he studied. One evening, as the sun set behind their backyard, Ethan whispered to Rex, "You gave me a second chance at life. I promise I'll live it for both of us." Rex licked his hand gently, his tired eyes full of love. Years later, Ethan would tell the story again and again, in school essays, at community events, and eventually to his own children. He would always finish with the same words. Rex wasn't just my dog. He was my guardian, my best friend, and my hero. He didn't wear a badge anymore, but he never stopped protecting me. And every time, people would be moved to tears, because deep down they knew it was true. Once a hero, always a hero.